self-made millionaire Steve Siebold says anyone can hit life's jackpot.
Steve Siebold is a world-class expert on mental toughness training for increasing sales, developing people, and managing change. He's a best-selling author and popular television interview guest on mental toughness for building wealth, getting fit, and excelling in sports.
How does a rich person look at money? What do they see? They see
lots of it.
And just available out there in the universe?
It's everywhere, especially with the recession. We have total chaos in the economy all over the world, world economy.
So they see opportunity.
They see opportunity because there's all these problems. Because where there's chaos, there's opportunity to solve problems, to make money.
Someone said that the rich, having made a lot of money last year in the stock market and maybe some money in the housing market, the rich have an obligation to spend that money to help the economy. And you say?
Why? Why are they obligated? I mean, these people didn't make their money robbing banks. They made their money solving problems.
Because it would be good for the economy.
So is solving problems. I mean, do people want their problems solved or not? If they want their problems solved, you're going to have to look to the innovators, the job producers, the creators.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Siebold.
Hey everyone, it's Steve Siebold. Welcome back to the Personal Development Podcast. I am really excited about today's guest. He's a young, self-made millionaire in the financial marketing and financial services business. He's out of College Grove, Tennessee, and I've watched this young guy just come up from nothing and create an amazing team of people. He's currently got 5,000 people on his team. He's become a self-made millionaire at a very young age. Besides that, he's married. He's got a beautiful daughter, beautiful wife, and just co-founded a new company called GFI, Global Financial Impact, with Eric Olson, and they are just taking over the industry, just taking it by storm, and they're really the talk of the industry right now. So it's my real pleasure to have on as our guest today, Mr. Mario Bayona. Mario, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Excited to be here.
Man, I appreciate you being on. You guys, I know, are running like maniacs. Every time I talk to one of you leaders at GFI, you're saying, "Yeah, I'm on the road, man. I gotta go." But yeah, what do you need? It's running like crazy, huh?
Yeah, I literally had to check my teeth, make sure I had no food use because I've been on back-to-back appointments, and then obviously we are now making some time to meet with you. So yeah, it's been a fun year.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Well, it's great. So you guys just hit, from what I understand, 26,000 agents in the first 8 months.
That's correct. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 27,000 in the next day or two.
Yeah, exactly right. That's why I always clarify. Yeah, because it just keeps going up and up. That's got to be some kind of record, wouldn't you say?
I mean, I don't know who holds the record on their first year, but if this is not the record, this has got to be pretty close to it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I didn't want to say for sure, but I've never heard of anything in the 25 years I've been a vendor to your industry. So congratulations on all the success, man. You guys are just lighting it on fire. And you've done something that I don't believe has ever been done, and that's creating an international market for what you guys are doing. Can you talk a little bit about that as we get started?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it was almost like a dream come true. There's a few of us. Obviously, our founder, Sandra, she's from Mexico. Myself, I was born and raised in Acapulco, Mexico, and a really good friend of mine and one of our board members as well, Mr. Marcel Macias, he's from Colombia. And we always had this vision of like helping our community. And we never thought that it could happen in the way where we can help them in our own countries and actually expand into Latin America. We expanded into Canada last week, which was a crazy success. I think it's like now almost 400 agents in the first like 72 hours or something like that. And but I think what separates us from a lot of other companies is that we've actually expanded into Mexico. We actually have an emergency meeting tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. with all our leaders in Mexico that used to pretty much get everything kick-started and submit our first cases and our first pieces of business. But I mean, Mexico is just the tip of the iceberg. The goal is to be in all 33 countries in Latin America. And we found a partnership that seems like it's going to be allow us to do so. So very, very exciting to not just be an American company, but now officially a global financial impact.
Yeah, that's got to be amazing. I just got back from Costa Rica a couple nights ago, and And you know how it is in Latin America. I mean, being from Mexico, it's, they're just starving for opportunity down there. And they're so grateful when we can bring anything. It's got to feel great for you to be a Mexican American and then and bringing this down to Mexico, I imagine.
I mean, I remember like it was yesterday because the process started in July. And I remember when we held our first corporate overview and met with the vendors and we were going through the process, and Marcel and I and Sandra just looked at each other. We're like, can you believe this is happening? I mean, to be honest, it got to a point where we didn't even thought it was going to be possible until GFI got started. We were starting to advocate just for, and with insurance carriers, just to allow people that came with an immigrant background to approve them for insurance, and maybe can they get better benefits. But never in 1,000 years did we think that we could actually offer services locally in our communities. And yeah, you can only imagine the emotions that were going through our minds and when we opened up Mexico. But yeah, very, very exciting.
Oh yeah, that's got to feel great for you. I can imagine. That's just a wonderful thing. Think of the lives you guys are going to change in Mexico and throughout the world, but Mexico, Latin America, our neighbors. I mean, that's going to be an unbelievable thing for you guys to be able to change those lives. Incredible.
Absolutely.
How did you get started in this, Mario? You're such a young guy. I mean, how old are you now?
I'm 36. I appreciate the young part. This is a good angle. If you look here, I have a patch of gray hair, but yeah.
You got started when you were 19?
That's correct. That's
wow.
Correct.
Actually,
I had just turned 19. It was like my second year in the United States. I had come to America in ending of 04. In 07, I went to a presentation. It's so funny because a buddy of mine from the soccer team in college invited me, and he was wearing a suit and he was looking sharp at school. And I asked him, what are you doing wearing a suit? Are you working at Macy's or are you working at Nordstrom? Like, I'm tired of working at a restaurant and being a server. I would love to look good when I go to work. And he told me he was in financial services and he was starting to do good. He invited me over to a corporate overview. And that's when I got the chance to meet a guy by the name of Randy Sikairos, who was working closely with Eric Colson. Randy interviewed me. He gave me a chance. And he asked me, he's like, Mario, we don't really bring people your age into our field of work. So why should we bring you on? And I was like, man, my whole life I wanted to do something better. I'm studying economics in school. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. I come from a family of entrepreneurs. I always knew financial services was something good. I've read all the books. I've read like Rich Dad Poor Dad. I had read Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I had read a few books already. So I was kind of like, I think a little bit different than most 19-year-olds. And they gave me a chance. And I said, if you gave me a chance, I promise you it'll be one of the best decisions you ever made in your life. And even though my English was limited and I didn't have a car at the time, my parents were paying for my cell phone bill. I was living with my parents. I just had a huge desire to do something special, and that's how I got started. It was just all I needed was an opportunity.
Wow, where'd you come from in Mexico?
Acapulco.
Okay. And then you moved up to Tennessee?
No, to San Jose, California. I've been in Tennessee now about a year and a half, but I was in San Jose this whole time.
Okay. Tired of those high taxes in California, I take it, huh? Oh, you start making money, man. Those taxes will kill you. That's the problem.
You're a smart guy.
It doesn't matter, right? But when you have money, then yeah, Tennessee much better with taxes, no question.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great story. So how long did it take you to say hit $100,000 a year from the time you got started at 19?
Well, things were very different back then, like a lot different. Products, technology, licensing, everything was completely different. It took me, I was 22 when I crossed 100,000. So about three and a half years.
Wow. That's pretty fast.
Well, we see people now doing it in months. So I feel like it was pretty slow compared to kind of like the new way of the way new people are doing things. But yeah.
And did you finish school? You were in college, you said. Did you finish school or did you drop out of school or what'd you do there?
You see, Steve, I don't appreciate that question. I like that. Did you? I just like saying I went to college. I don't like to finish the sentence. No, I did not. I did not finish. I did not finish school. Look, I'll tell you a quick story on that. My grandfather did very, very, very well, and he was kind of like a hero of mine growing up because he always stepped up financially when the family needed help. And one time I asked him for a loan because I saw my parents fighting over money, and he said that I was too young. He fixed it, and he said, look, son, I'm like, Grandpa, I want to be like you one day. Like, please help me. Like, I just want to borrow money. I want to have my own business. I want to help my parents. And my grandfather said, I'm going to give you some advice, but I can't give you money. And the advice might be worth more than money one day once you get it. I was like 11. He said, in life, you're going to have 1 or 2 knocks on your door. And it will be opportunity. And it will be your ability to see it and seize it that will determine the life you live. When I was 19, the day I got invited to that corporate overview, it was April 19th of 2007, Steve. That was my grandfather's birthday. And he had passed by then. But for me, it was just like, I kind of saw it from the beginning. And for me, it was like, what do I got to lose versus what do I got to gain? I was like, my mom was like, you can't drop out of school. You're crazy. What's the family going to think? What are their friends going to think? Like, what if this doesn't work? And for me, I was like, what do I got to lose? What do I got to gain? If I have more to lose than I got to gain, I got to go for it. If I got more. And what I told my mom was like, hey, if by the time I'm 22, I'm not making 100,000, I'll quit what I'm doing and I'll go back to school and I'll still graduate at a relatively young age. But if this does work out, this could set me up for life. And fortunate enough, by 22, I crossed 100,000. It was just a deal with my mom, and I was able to stay in the industry.
That's great. I love that story. And the reason I asked you is because I didn't know the answer, but I asked you because so many people, so many entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, are in that stage. I was the same way in college. I couldn't figure out why I was there. I had an academic scholarship. I didn't know what I was really learning. I still don't know really what I learned in college, but I dropped out right before I graduated, and it was not very popular. But to your point, once you get successful, then it's like, okay, everyone stops worrying about you. But that's a great story. And I love what your grandfather said about the knocking because, well, let me ask you, how do you feel? Do you think he was right about that maybe you get 1 or 2 shots in your life?
Look, I got the second knock on my door earlier this year when Eric talked to me about GFI. I don't know if there's going to be a third one or fourth one. I just know the ones that are in front of me are the ones in front of me are the only ones I can control. But I will tell you, I have heard a lot of stories because I work with a lot of people of like, if I would have done this back in the day, or the people I heard about crypto, or I heard about insurance when I was younger, and I just never did it. So I do believe in those knocks. And I do believe that it takes a certain kind of person to just kind of see it and go for it and not be discouraged when things don't go your way. But I definitely believe that we all have just a very few knocks, and it's our decisions when those knocks come that determine the life we live.
I think you're right. I look back in my life. I turned 60 in a few days, and I look back and I got one. I got one good knock on the door. I answered it. Was very fortunate, got lucky, but I didn't get the second knock. I think you're absolutely right. I think your grandfather was right. Those knocks don't come very often. And to your point and to your credit, you recognized it and you took advantage of it. Then and look where you are now at 36. I mean, that's it's amazing what you've done. So here's my question. What made you think at 19 that you could be this successful, like you could become the self-made millionaire? What made you believe that at such a young age?
Well, I didn't know if I didn't know at that age I was going to be where I'm at now, if I can just be honest with you. We've gotten to a good place in life, and we're just even more excited about where we're going and the people we're helping get there with us. But one thing I did believe was that there was that guy that was training me, who was Randy, who I had related a lot with. And Eric Olson at the time was only 25 years of age. And he was, I believe, crossing 1 million for the first time. And I could see that. And I could see these guys are willing to show me how they have done what they've achieved. And if I just do what they tell me, I can end up where they're at, if not further. To me, I was like, man, I speak English, I speak Spanish. And that's a little bit of an advantage that I have over them. And I have them and they didn't have themselves. So with their guidance, I could get there. So I don't know if I believed up front that I could be where I'm at today, which I look back, and if I could have changed something, I wish I would have believed sooner I could be where I'm at now, because I believe when you believe in certain things, you approach them differently. And I think maybe that's why it took me 3 years to cross 6 figures and not immediately, because it's something I had never made. It's something that I didn't see a lot of people make. But once I figured out, I knew I could win one day. And that's why I decided to get licensed and become a part of this industry. But I just didn't know how fast I could do it. So that would be my answer, Steve. I believed I could do what the guys in front of me had done. I just never thought I could be further than what I had seen at that moment.
What was it like when you made your first million?
this is not going to be a popular answer. I was like, why the hell did it take me so long? This is not even that hard. It was like, I overestimated what $1 million was. I got to $1 million. I was like, is that it? Like,
I thought the same thing. I thought I was making this big deal out of this. I mean, I thought the exact same thing. It's crazy. Yeah. It totally changes your belief. Well, let me ask you it this way. How much easier was the second million to make than the first million?
Oh my, I mean, the first one took me like, what was it? 11 or 12 years. And to get to the second one was like a year and a half after we went over the second one, or 2 years after we got to the second one. So yeah, the second one was a lot easier than the first one. And I feel like the third one is like the compound pounding. The third one would be even faster than it took from 1 to 2. So very exciting.
Why do you think that is? I mean, for entrepreneurs, now you and I probably have a lot of the same experiences, the different years and all that, but same kind of experience in that way. But a lot of new entrepreneurs, as you know, they don't understand the psychology of it, because when you're new, who does? No one does. So why is it so much easier to make subsequent millions after the first, in your opinion?
I think at the beginning is like, and I'm a terrible chef. I mean, I will ruin cereal, but like, I feel like at the beginning, you're trying to come up with your like formula or your recipe for success. And you hear this guy say this and this guy say that, and you are trying this and you're trying that, and this doesn't work. And you're coming together. You're first and foremost, you're self-developing yourself. You're growing into the person you need to become, but also you're putting all these little ingredients into your recipe, and just the cake's not coming out the way you want it to come out. And then you do something and the cake comes out. And once the formula is there, it's just a matter of repetition. It's how many times over can you do it? And I feel like once we figure out the formula, it was just compounding on that formula and then teaching that exact formula to others. And it's just been a fun ride. I mean, just the first one was hard because you're trying to figure out the recipe, even though everybody's trying to tell you what it is. But once you get the recipe down, it's just a matter of how focused can you remain once you have the formula down.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good answer. That makes a lot of sense. So what was it like? Tell us about the struggle in the beginning, and with, did you get a lot of pushback from friends and family and that type of thing, or were they pretty accepting? And tell us a little bit about your opening couple of years.
Well, English was my second language. Okay. Like very second language. Like when I got licensed, I studied. And I remember taking that exam, and I felt like I was reading Mandarin or something. I'm just grateful I had good memory and I passed my exam. But I called everybody, and a buddy of mine had Googled like what we do or something. And he told me, Mario, you're in a scam, which I feel like a lot of the times, anytime you try to do something special, like those that love you kind of care about you enough that they want to protect you, and they try to find anything bad that they possibly can. And a buddy of mine had apparently done some research that we're a scam, but I didn't know what that meant. I didn't read much into the email, and I called a lot of my friends and a lot of my family members, letting them know that I had just gotten licensed and I was a part of a new scam, and it was in financial services, and I wanted their support and I wanted to see what I was doing. And of course, nobody supported me and nobody wanted to meet with me until someone heard me make that call, and they sat me down and they explained me what I was saying. And I figured out like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I've been telling everybody I'm in a scam.
You're part of a new scam. You come join me.
Oh God. It's like, I don't know if you ever asked someone like, or you've ever told someone, oh my gosh, when's the baby due? And they tell you they're not pregnant. I mean, there's nothing you can say.
Exactly. Yeah, you're kind of done on that one. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of funny how like sometimes your tests become your testimonies, because I lost everybody I could talk to. I lost all credibility immediately. I was already the immigrant kid. I was already the student. And then I said that. So I lost all credibility with anybody that I had in my life. But I think that forced me to get good at other things. So I got stronger at the system. I got stronger at following instruction because I had to depend on that. And if I wanted to win, one thing that I always told myself, because when I didn't get the support that I expected, I always told myself, like, Bill Gates did not become a billionaire selling Microsoft to his family. Like, Jeff Bezos is not Jeff Bezos because his families are Amazon Prime members. I don't think Steve Jobs cared if his family had Apple or Macintosh. Like, well, our products and services are so much bigger than just the immediate group of people that I know. So for me, it was just like, well, I guess it's going to suck that I don't have that support other people have, but I'm going to make it happen regardless, because what I want weighs so much more than a few people's opinions of me.
And how about now? How your friends and family, how have they responded to your amazing success?
I heard of the saying, change your friends or change your friends. I love all the people I grew up with. I mean, if I ever see them, we see each other with a lot of joy and we'll hug each other. But I don't spend much. I don't even remember the last time I hang out with any of my old friends in a really long time. They say a lot of people are friends with people they have a common past with. I'll tell you, all the people I spend time with are the people I have a common future with. And it's not that I love less anybody that I knew back then. It's just in the world that we live on right now, like we're so busy. The few people we spend time with is with our business partners, is with Eric and Sandra and people like all the members of the board. So yeah, no, and family, my family lives with me. My father and my mother, my dad almost passed away when I was 22 years of age. And I promised them I will take care of them. And now it's been 14 years. So mom and dad live with us, and they're a huge part of the reasons why we're winning. They're able to help us with our little one every once in a while. And every time I feel like making an excuse, I see my dad fighting for his life. And he's got it way tougher than I do. So as hard as I think, sometimes when I get in my head, I just look at him, and it's all the inspiration that I need to keep on going. So family is great. I actually have my whole family coming to Tennessee for the holidays. I have a sister from Australia, my sister from Mexico. We're flying in. The whole family will be our first Christmas together in 5 Christmases. So it's going to be an exciting time.
Wow, that's amazing. I'll bet they're very proud of you. Your parents are very proud of what you've accomplished.
You know, Steve, I didn't know what this interview was going to be or where this was going to go. I think as entrepreneurs, we doubt ourselves a lot because we sacrifice a lot to get to where we want to go. Some of it sometimes is family time. And when I was in my 20s, when my dad got sick, I had 2 choices. Either I win or he dies. Just plain and simple. Like, no, we had nobody else to fall on, to fall back up on, or people to ask money for. Like, it was just either I make it or my dad dies. And I felt so guilty because I was not around very much when he was going through all his treatments and when he was going through dialysis. And I was just like working 12, 14 hours a day, just trying to make sure I made it so I could provide for my family. And when my dad when he got his kidney transplant, I was talking to him and I was like, what kept you going for 8 years of being sick the way you've been sick? He's like, son, I wanted to continue to have a front row seat to my son's success. He goes, there's no greater feeling than seeing your son become everything you thought he could and some. So it's kind of funny how I was feeling so guilty, yet I didn't know I was even inspiring my dad for him to keep fighting his fight.
Yeah, wow, that is quite a story. Wow, so you're inspiring each other.
Exactly.
That's wonderful. Jeez. So let me ask you this, Mario. When you were 19, 20, you just got in the business, you see the picture. What did you see in your vision? What was it that you were going after specifically that really motivated you the most?
I'm like, one day there's going to be a kid like me from Mexico that is going to walk into this industry and he's not going to look like everybody else looks. And he's going to think that he can win because he saw me win. And one day there's going to be an immigrant that's going to come into this industry and he's going to think, or she's going to think, if a guy with an accent can win in this industry, I can win in this industry. I don't know why, but like the good Lord told me that I could do anything I set my mind to. And with him by my side, there's nothing that could stop us. So like the vision was like, one day we're going to be so freaking big. We're going to inspire so many people to do the same. And we're going to change the face of the financial industry. And it's kind of fun to see at a very small scale, seeing some of that happening already.
Yeah, absolutely. What was the biggest thing you had to change? Like a belief or a habit or a behavior that you had to change to become so successful?
I think the first thing, I had to change my associations. I had to kind of like stop hanging around some of the people I was hanging around who were talking about stuff that was not going to get me any better or get me to where I wanted to be. And to be honest, that was never much of a sacrifice, just because Steve, it's pretty rare finding people that are extremely driven. I feel like there's a lot of people that are driven, but they want something for nothing. I knew that in order for me to get to a certain place in life, I was going to have to let go of some stuff. And I'll tell you this, was it hard to be successful? Yes. But I think the cost of not getting there was going to be a lot tougher than the cost of getting there. So I had to change my associations. I had to change like my daily routine. Never in my life was I a guy that loved just picking up a book and reading it. But I remember when I grabbed your book, 177 Mental Toughness Secrets of the World Class, one of my, if not my favorite book of all time, one of my favorite books of all time. And I couldn't put that book down. And I remember Friday nights, my friends will be going out and having fun, and I'll be reading the book. And I had to work on my language. I had to make sure I had friends around me that are like, I'm like, if I don't pronounce something right, please tell me. If my English is not sharp, please tell me. I had to change my appearance. I had to change. I started going to, Eric told me, if you want me to mentor you, you're going to have to start going to church with me. And I started going to church, and that changed everything, Steve. When God came into my life, I feel like just somebody came with a magic wand and just made everything 1,000 times better. So I don't want to say I had to change, because I'm still the same person I was before, like jokester and fun. And like, I would like to consider myself a humble guy, a fun guy to be around. I feel like I had to improve. It's like if my phone's acting up, many times I don't need to get a new phone. I just need to upgrade the existing phone. So I just wanted to be a better version of me. And through self-development and associations, we were able to do some of that.
I can't imagine coming into a new country with a new language, and you have to learn the language. I can't imagine taking the assurance exam in a different language. That's amazing. I'm learning Spanish. And I'm a year into it, and I'm so bad, Mario. It's just embarrassing. I was just down in Costa Rica, and I was trying to talk to the people down there, and I had to use Google Translate all the time because I'm so bad. I can't imagine. And you speak English so well now. It's impressive. But to build a business in another language, do a lot of your agents, are they Spanish speaking? Is that their first language, or?
No, I think we have a pretty diverse organization. But no, I would say the Spanish speaking part of our group is probably 10%. So no, not very large. Okay.
I was going to say in Tennessee, I wouldn't think it's the biggest Spanish speaking population, right?
Yeah, no, I think I'm in Williamson County. I think is like 0.1% Latino.
You got to be an outlier on that one a little bit. Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, now with GFI, so you saw this vision. Well, let me ask you about that. So what made you see the vision with GFI? What was it? Because I know you left a previous company making a lot of money. Big risk, because you got to walk completely away, right? You don't take anything with you. What made you take that risk in with GFI and Eric Olson?
All right, so I gotta set the cards right. I did not follow a vision. I did not follow a company. I made my decision before I even knew that there was a company name or a company actually being created. Eric and I and some people, we had the idea of like, what if this was ever to happen, what would you do? And our answer was always the same. It says, we don't follow letters or companies, we follow leadership. And for 16 years, I had been under the leadership and mentorship of Eric Olson, who was the best man in my wedding. Sandra Olson, who was one of the matron of honors for my wife, Lisa. And we were in their weddings. And I would say I'm like Eric's younger brother. We have had an amazing relationship for 16 years. And I said, Eric, if there was ever the point where you went independent and I was to pick, is nothing against any other companies, like I'm following you. And when the conversation happened, I remember they were kind of telling us a little bit about it. And I was like, it was shocking. I didn't want to believe it because things were going so good. And I was like, well, it's a cool idea. If it happens, I'm in. But I mean, I hope it doesn't. Like, we're doing pretty good. I don't see a reason why we should take a risk and start from zero all over again. But if you ever decide to do it, like, just know we're all in. And I said, if you ever decide to go independent, can we just please keep it in the same line of work? Because I will hate to learn something brand new. And Eric started laughing. And he's like, I appreciate your loyalty. But at the moment, I remember when we had like kind of like the first serious conversation, and my wife and I just looked at each other and we said, wherever the Olsons go, we go. I just feel like when my father was about to pass away, when we didn't know he was going to make it, He told me, son, I just want to give you some advice if I don't ever get to see you again. He says, I'm starting to see your success and the direction that you are going. And one of the things I'm very worried about is that there's not a lot of people that have a vested interest in your success. And because of that, I don't think there's many people you can trust. He goes, your friends will turn their back if it's for them benefiting over you. He goes, some of the people around that you might think want you to win, they really don't want you to win. He goes, at this moment, that was before I was married, he goes, there's only two people I know in this world that you can trust when it comes down to business. He goes, one is me, and I might not be here with you tomorrow. And the other one is that young man, Eric Olson. He goes, there's something about that guy that makes me know that he will never do you wrong. And I remember when Eric told me that, when my dad told me that, it just always stuck with me. And for 17 years, I'll tell you this, I've been very loyal to Eric, and it's paid tremendous dividends. But even if right now even if we're not doing what we're doing right now, just the fact that I'm in the journey with my brother, it would be all worth it. So money's not everything. I'm just fortunate enough that things have panned out to our advantage and to our benefit. But I didn't know much about GFI. I just knew wherever Eric Olson would go, I would follow.
Yeah, well, your dad sounds like a smart man, and I agree with you 100%. You know, working as a speaker, author, trainer, whatever, for the industry for about 25 years, just as an outsider looking, working with thousands of these people over the years, and all these different companies, they always come up to you or call me eventually or email me or something, say, hey, which company is the best? I'm like, it's about the leader. The company's an entity, I mean, the company's a company, but obviously it's important, but the leader is like the whole thing. And that's why when people are calling me saying, you think people are going to go with Eric? I'm like, I think they'd be kind of foolish not to. I mean, this guy is playing to win. And, has there really ever been a more powerful leader in this industry than Eric Olson? I've personally never seen one. I mean, if he's been out there, I haven't seen it. And I include Art Williams in that category. I don't think, he was obviously a great leader. I don't think he's Eric Olson. Well, time will tell, but I think you made a very smart move. I think you got that second knock, as you mentioned, Mario, earlier.
And I don't think you're wrong, Steve. I don't think you're wrong. And I just love it because so many people place their bet. When this transition happened, some people placed their bets, right? Whether it was another company or it was this company or whatever. And I just know everybody that placed their bet on us, they placed the bet on the right horse. And when you have a winning team and then you bring a winning coach that has been mentored by some of the greatest in the industry, I'll tell you, even Michael Jordan, one of the greatest players of all time, he needed Phil Jackson to win 6 championships. Kobe Bryant needed Phil Jackson to win 5 championships. Some of these players are some of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. They never won without that coach. And I know Eric is that for not just for me, but for many of us here in GFI. And I think as more people begin to be a part of GFI, they're starting to realize that there's something special here, and it starts from the top.
Well, now you guys have brought in Marty Schaefer to be president, who's a brilliant guy. He's a phenomenal success, and so now he's one of the people at the helm. And you got Greg Kapp, who's been in the business longer than most of the field has been alive. So he knows where everything is. All the bodies are buried, as they say in New Jersey. He knows all the stories about everything. And so the leadership team seems like it's really shaping up. Are you, as a field leader, are you pretty happy with what they've done in the office?
Man, are you kidding? I mean, just Marty and Eric, they're fun to watch together because Marty thought he was working hard until he met GFI leadership. I think he was working 12 hours a day thinking he's a hard worker. Now I think he's like at 20 hours a day. Eric's probably at 22. Greg Kapp, for me, has been one of my biggest inspirations coming to GFI. You've seen if you follow us on social media, we're in a new city every single week, sometimes 2 to 3 cities a week, yet still running our businesses. And to see a 73-year-old man putting in the same amount of energy or more than we do and keeping up with us and making us keep up with him, it's been like, what's our excuse? If Greg Kapp still got energy, we got to have some energy. And then you bring the youth but the expertise, like It's not just like Eric, Marty, Greg Cap. Is you bring Levi and Boney, you bring Matthew Wells, you bring me to an equation, and you start. I feel like we're starting to form what's called like a dream team, and it's so cool that we're pulling the best out of each other. Like my wife looked at me and she said, "I've never seen you have so much fun, be so tired, yet so full of life, so competitive, but in such a mission than this year." And she's like, "What is it, babe?" And I'm like, "Honey, I cannot afford to bring my B game when everyone is bringing their A game." And it's just contagious. It's the culture in GFI right now is like, I just know one day I'll be able to talk to my children and grandchildren about these moments of our life that shaped everything, because this is a fun times.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and I do follow you guys on social media. And Eric flew down and we filmed for a day down here at the beginning of the year in a studio. And I came back the first night after taping. I told my wife, I said, she's how'd it go? I said, "I'm so pumped up." And that was before everything really got started with BFI. Just, "What are you pumped up about? You're not even in the company." I said, "I know, but I'm pumped up anyway." I said, "You can't spend 12 hours in the studio with Eric Olson without being pumped up about something." He goes, "Well, take the garbage out, do something with that energy." You're right, though. It is. It's fun to watch and fun to. It's inspiring just to watch what you guys are doing. And so, as you look into your crystal ball with this thing, Mario, what do you see the next 5 years and with your vision for your business and GFI as a whole?
Yeah, I think our goal. We talk a lot about 2030. I'll start with our individual vision with our agency. Our agencies become like a dream team alliance in financial services. And I see us going straight to 250,000 licensed agents, 250,000 licensed agents across the country and across the globe. And I see us doing a $1 billion plus business, a 10-figure business. And with GFI, I just see one thing. We're going to be the largest player in the industry. We will be the number one company in financial services distribution. Is what we're working for, is what we're working towards. It's our vision, is what we're working 20 plus hours a day, including weekends, relentlessly towards. That's why we're putting in the efforts that we're putting in. That's why the infrastructure is being built so we can handle that. That's why we are partnering with technology companies and bringing technology into the equation, because we know it's the only way that we're going to be able to achieve that. And the vision is we're going to be the number one company in financial services. So very excited to achieve that. We know it's not going to be easy, but we know for sure nobody else is thinking the way we're thinking. So we're going to get that done.
I would agree. I haven't seen that at all or heard anything like this before. It's interesting, Mario, is that how it is. You get the office, the people running the actual company, which is a different mindset, and then you get the field, and you expect the field to throw out some big numbers because that's what dreamers do, right? And we throw big numbers out, and then we say, "How the hell are we going to do that?" Well, we'll make it work somehow, But you don't expect the president of the company to that's just been my experience working with, a lot of really big companies around the world for 30 plus years. Usually they're pretty conservative. They go on CNBC, they hedge their bets a little bit. They played pretty close. They try not to make too many crazy claims. But, when Marty Schaefer, I interviewed him a few weeks ago, and I asked him the same question, basically as I asked you without the field part. I just said, "What do you think? Where are you guys going in the next 5 years?" And he said, "We're going to be a $20 billion company." And I tell you, I was a little taken aback, not because I didn't believe it could happen, just because the president, a conservative guy like Marty Schaefer, when he says that carries some weight, because here's a guy that's been around the industry for a long time. He's the president. He's responsible for a lot of things, and the numbers are not the least of that. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, it seems like you guys are all on the same page with the next 5-6 years moving forward. So do you see, it sounded like, and Eric has said this, and I think Marty said this as well at some point, that possibly you guys are looking at going public at some point. What's your take on that?
I would say that's above my pay grade to talk about going public or not public. I know there's a lot of pieces to the puzzle that got to come together for that to happen, and that I think is more on the corporate side of things. But when I talk to Eric, when I talk to Marty, when we talk with the board, we are more than confident we're going to get to that valuation and more. Why? The industry is shaping. I think we have something that nobody else has. I also, when you put winners together, winners win. You see, everybody that came in and is now a part of the leadership group of GFI, we were not bitter people that were losing. We were not people that all we have had in our life was just a bunch of failing experiences. It's kind of interesting to find a group of people that at their prime, and I think this is one of the things that Eric is kind of like known for, and people talk about it, and people were, one of the reasons nobody believed that this was even going to happen, including me, is like, why would we leave at our highest? It's like, if we have gone past our peak, then yeah, maybe we want to open up something so we can sell in a couple of years and try and at least cash in on an opportunity, which is what a lot of people had done, or they go and or someone that opens up a company early on in their career without really having a track record of success. But when you take a look at the people that put GFI together, the track record of success, everybody at their prime of their life, winning at the highest that they had ever won, and then willing to sacrifice everything they've built throughout their entire careers to start something new. Like I always say this, you want to see what a man can do? Take food out of his table. And we all gave up 100% we gave up everything we had. And it was like sink or swim, and we're not sinking, so we better get swimming. So I just feel like the combination of that with the open-mindedness about a company for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs, and listening to the field about ideas with technology ideas, with client services, some of the advisors that we have, like most companies that, I'll tell you this, I really believe pound per pound are the financial professionals in GFI are some of the best in the industry. When we talk about client retention, when we talk about customer service, when we talk about taking a client not just to sell them an insurance policy or an annuity, but walk them through a whole financial solution and being there for them when they need us. Like, I think we have something very special, Steve. I will tell you this. Once again, I will not bet against Eric, Marty, and GFI on that future evaluation. So
I agree 100% with you. Absolutely, Mario. You guys are shaking them up in Canada pretty good too. I know when you guys went up there, I mean, maybe your first or second meeting. If you guys had a couple meetings up there?
Yeah, we had a couple, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got an email from one of the bigger, I won't mention the name, but one of the bigger traditional companies up there, just, really upset about, you guys coming in. And I said, I'll tell you what, I said, give them 2 years and they'll have more people in Canada as clients than all you guys put together. He didn't respond to me. He wasn't too crazy about that. He was a client way back of mine. And I just said, don't bet against these guys. I said, they're out there and they're hungry. And, so... Well, just to kind of wrap up, Mario, and again, congratulations on all your success. I mean, you're a wonderful success story, and you're a great role model for so many young people, and not only just young people here, but I love being a Mexican American. That's so cool that you're going to be able to help people, in your home country. That is just, God, that's just got to be so fun for you to see people that wouldn't have a chance. I mean, just like being down in Costa Rica the other day. I mean, I don't know what the average person makes there, but I think the average per capita income is like maybe $14,000 a year or something. They don't have anything. I mean, geez, they're nice people. They're smart people. They just don't have any opportunity, man, and you guys come down there and give them these opportunities. If they don't take it, then they don't take it. But you guys hand it to them, and it's just not something that they'll ever have seen before. It's their one knock they never would have gotten without you guys. So congratulations on everything you've done. Is there any advice you would give just in general, Mario, to any young person, or any person for that matter, even if they're not young, and they're looking at, maybe they're an employee and they're kind of stuck, or they want to make the entrepreneurial leap, but they're a little scared to do it, and maybe people are telling them they can't do it or they shouldn't do it. Any advice as a self-made millionaire entrepreneur yourself that you would offer those people?
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. And I'll kind of circle back to when you got to a point where I had to make a decision in my life. I just think everybody's different. And I think where the rubber meets the road is a simple question that we got to ask ourselves. Where do we want to be in life? Question 2 is the vehicle that we're currently on, does that have the horsepower or the engine to get us to those dreams and goals that we have in our life? And if the answer is no, how do you feel being in a vehicle that will never help you that will never get you to your destination? If nothing changes, nothing changes. Here's the truth. One of the things that I loved about our industry was that I didn't have to make a full-time commitment up front. that it was an industry I got the chance to learn. I could continue to go to school, continue to have my part-time job while I was learning this. And once my income replaced my other incomes, I was able then to transition into a full-time position. But I feel like most decisions in life can be simplified on a scale. And what I said earlier was, when I take a look at a scale of things, if you take a look and you put entrepreneurship in a scale, and what you got to gain is a lot heavier than what you got to lose, then go for it. But vice versa, if what you got to lose is a lot more than what you got to gain, then maybe don't go for it. I just think that's a personal decision that you have to make. And if you're married or you're in a serious relationship, I encourage you to not make that decision alone. I feel like a lot of people sometimes want to go into business forgetting that their best business partner they'll ever have is their spouse, and they don't involve their spouse in that decision making. And I'll tell you this, I think entrepreneurship is back. I think people are starting to realize that the traditional way of working 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life to live on 40% of what you were making at your prime is not cutting it. And people are living longer. People are having to go back to work, and they start to realize that you don't want to be in the passenger seat of life where somebody determines your income, somebody determines pretty much how much you're worth. Taking charge and being on that driver's seat of life, I think is something that I encourage if you are willing to bet on yourself, and if you got more to gain than you got to lose. I mean, we've brought on thousands and thousands of people from employment into entrepreneurship. I mean, our organization this year alone, and when my first 12 months are up, we should have between 60 to close to 100 people make six figures. And that is usually what makes us excited. A lot of people say, how does it feel to be a self-made millionaire? I'm not a self-made millionaire. I'm a team-made millionaire. I didn't do it alone. It was the collective work of a lot of really good people that have become family to me. And I would say, if you want to be in the passenger seat of life, stay where you're at. If you want to take control of your life, then it's time to dive into entrepreneurship.
That's great advice, Mario. You know, again, I know how busy you are. You guys are running all over the country and multiple countries doing this. So I really appreciate you taking time to be on the podcast, and continued success, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate you, Steve. Thank you so much for having me. Have a blessed day.
You too. All right, guys. Well, you heard it from one of the best out there. Young guy, 36 years old, starts when he's 19, comes to a country he doesn't speak the language, and he still becomes, as he says, a team-made millionaire, which is exactly accurate, exactly what he's done. And what an inspiration. You know, I mean, I'm pumped up. I was a little bit tired. I didn't sleep much last night. Now I'm all pumped up from Mario Bayona. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you're interested in GFI as an opportunity, certainly look Mario up. He's on Instagram. He's big on Instagram. Look him up, Mario Bayona, Bayona. Mario is his first name. Look him up on Instagram. Hit him up, direct message him, and he'd be a heck of a leader to follow in this industry. So glad you guys could make it. Hope you enjoyed the interview, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.